In the previous life, as the child mistakenly taken in by a wealthy family, I became, in the eyes of the family who once cherished me like a precious jewel, the one who usurped the true heiress's identity, the bastard who stole the nest. The parents who once loved me as if their lives depended on it said, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, how could we have been separated from our own flesh and blood for so many years?" The elder brother who once granted my every wish said, "A bastard of unknown origin, Nina is 10,000 times better than you." The younger brother who once only listened to me said, "You disgust me." And that boyfriend who once swore he would love me and only me for life, he said, "Nina is the one I truly love." What exactly are you? Overnight, I was cast aside like a pair of worn-out shoes. But clearly, I had done nothing wrong. Later, I was kidnapped, becoming a pawn for the kidnappers to extort money from the couple. But until I was killed, I never saw any of the family again. Returning for another life. I want nothing more than to live well, so I leave voluntarily. These people actually end up crying and begging me to come home. On the 7th day after being murdered and dismembered, I was reborn. Reborn on the day before Nina was brought home by her parents. According to the memories of my previous life, Nina's return home was nothing less than the countdown to my death. After recalling the course of my death in my past life, I came back to my senses only to realize I was currently in the hospital. A flood of memories rushed over me instantly. Clearly, it was because I swerved to avoid a pedestrian darting across the road that caused the car to crash into a passing bus. Yet, in an edited short video that cut off the beginning and end, even though I had desperately turned the steering wheel at the last moment, doing everything I could to avoid casualties, I was still portrayed as a female driver who ignored traffic rules, treated the road as her own home, ignorant and foolish. Even when I woke up 2 days after the coma, the online abuse continued. Female drivers, you know how it is. Sympathies to the innocent bus driver and passengers. Female drivers who can't drive should just go die. Although I'm also a female driver, I still have to say it, you idiot, go die. Thankfully the bus driver was experienced, otherwise who knows how many people would have died. This kind of road menace will get herself killed sooner or later. After the car accident, netizens dug up my identity based on my license plate number. The daughter of Miles, the richest man in the city. As a result, the official blogs of all the companies under the family were flooded by netizens flying the flag of justice. With such a scandal breaking out. As a minor punishment for me. While I was still lying in the hospital, almost all of my bank cards were frozen. From admission to waking up, not only did no one from the family come to visit, but only my elder brother, Kyle, called once to scold me, that was all. No other contact. It couldn't be helped. After all, their biological daughter had already been found. Who would still have time to care about me, the bastard who stole the nest? Right now, they were probably ecstatically busy preparing belongings for their biological daughter. After the final checkup, the doctor told me, "You can be discharged from the hospital now." Thank you. After expressing my thanks, I packed my things with the nurse's help and took a taxi home. No, I no longer deserved to call that house a home. I asked the taxi driver to wait at the entrance of the community. Without the slightest hesitation. While no one from the family was home, I packed my luggage, taking only the card that belonged to my personal savings. It was truly laughable. Because I had wanted to use my own earned money to buy birthday gifts for my parents, I hadn't told anyone else, so the existence of this card was known only to me and the entire family. And this money, originally intended for gifts, just happened to become my only lifeline now. While the butler and the house aunt were busy working in full swing, I carried my suitcase downstairs. "Miss, are you going out?" Just as I was about to step out of the house, Uncle Yong, the butler, asked from behind. Without turning my head, I simply said, "Yes, it's time to go." All the things the family had given me in the past. Except for a few necessary pieces of clothing, everything else was left behind at the house. The moment I walked out of the main gate of the community, pulling my lightweight suitcase, I suddenly felt a sense of relief. The moment the car door closed, I caught a glimpse of Kyle's car out of the corner of my eye, speeding into the community. He must have been in a hurry to see his biological sister. Withdrawing my gaze, I calmly said to the driver, "To the airport, please." 4 hours later, I appeared at the entrance of an couldn't be more ordinary residential area entrance. Thanks to some investments made on a whim over the years. Although it couldn't compare to the family's wealth, I now had a modest amount of savings. Moreover, I had already bought my first apartment last year. It was just that from the time I bought this apartment until now, apart from the time I came to collect the keys, today was my first time here. Fortunately, I occasionally contacted housekeeping to clean. Even though it had been empty all along, this apartment was in a condition that allowed me to move in directly. Exhausted both physically and mentally, I lay down on the bed. Staring at the ceiling, scenes from my past and present life flashed before my eyes. Since my previous life, I couldn't understand, even if I wasn't their biological child, we had been family for over 20 years. How could they treat me like a monster overnight? I don't know how much time passed, but my head was still groggy as I began to feel drowsy. I should sleep first. Once I wake up, everything will be better. When I woke up again, the sky was completely dark. After sitting in a daze on the bed for a moment, I realized where I was now. The phone in my hand vibrated incessantly. I picked it up and saw the name Zane on the screen. Zane. In my previous life, I had always thought Zane truly loved me, but it wasn't until Nina appeared that I realized. From beginning to end, he only loved those who could bring him advantages. Sliding the answer key, Zane's voice, tinged with impatience, immediately sounded in the quiet room. "Maya, where are you?" I didn't make a sound, placed the phone aside, lay back down, and turned to look at the dark night sky outside the window. "Your parents said there's something very important to announce at your house today. You're the only one who hasn't arrived. Can you not throw a tantrum at a time like this? I heard about the car accident too. It was indeed your fault. Your parents only furnish your cards for your own good. Can you not be willful, please? Tell me where you are now. I'll come pick you up myself, is that okay?" Besides Zane's incessant accusations, in the background, there was also Kyle's voice, full of disdain. "Don't humor her, she's in her 20s already, still acting immature all day long. If she has the ability, let her never come back in this lifetime." Even though I had already experienced it once, hearing these words again, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken for myself. After being silent for a good while, I picked up the phone, interrupting the series of questions coming from the receiver, and asked him calmly. "Zane. Do you know I was in a coma for 2 days and was only discharged from the hospital this morning?" The incessant chatter on the other end of the phone suddenly stopped. After a moment, Zane's voice came through again. "So you're blaming me for not picking you up from the hospital? Maya, you know how busy I am. I can't prioritize you in everything. You're 23 years old. You can't expect me to revolve around you all the time, understand?" Taking a deep breath, faced with his evasion, I chose to be direct. "Nina is back, right? You went with Mr. and Mrs. Miles to pick her up today, didn't you?" "What?" Zane's voice held a note of astonishment. "How did you know?" His words abruptly cut off. On both ends of the phone, apart from the faint, happy sounds of the family in the background, there was complete silence. I sighed. "It's over, Zane. I'm tired." "Maya, what do you mean?" Zane's voice was somewhat tense. "I'm your boyfriend. If your parents need me to do something, how could I refuse? Besides, Nina is their biological daughter after all, you." The more he spoke, the drier his voice became. "Where exactly are you? I'll come get you right now." Pursing my lips, I held the phone and turned to look out the window. "No need, Zane." My slightly hoarse voice echoed in the empty, quiet room. "I won't be coming back anymore. Please also help me relay a message. I wish them a happy family reunion. I will absolutely not disturb them. After saying this, I didn't wait for Zane's response. I hung up the phone directly. In this second chance at life, I just want to live well. I couldn't sleep at night. I cleaned all through the night until daybreak, ending up drenched in sweat. As for work, I had already submitted my resignation the moment I decided to leave Cydia yesterday. After all, it was a dispensable position. HR approved my resignation application within just half an hour. At 8 in the morning, hungry and struggling to keep my heavy eyelids open, I went downstairs to buy breakfast. Just as I stepped out of the elevator, my phone rang again. This time, it was Kyle calling. After a moment's thought, I finally answered the call. The other party immediately began questioning me. Maya, why aren't you at the hospital? I listened quietly without making a sound. Zane says you already know about Nina. That saves us the trouble of explaining it to you. But Mom and Dad also said that even if you're not biologically related, we'll still treat you as part of the family from now on. We can let bygones be bygones regarding the trouble you caused online before. However, I advise you to know your limits. Don't think the family will tolerate you the way they did in the past. Talking nonsense about never coming back. I'll unfreeze your bank cards today. But if you dare to splurge recklessly, I won't hesitate to freeze them again. I rubbed my temples. My already throbbing head gradually turned into a full-blown headache after his lecture. I listened patiently for a few minutes. But what he said was largely the same, and I didn't plan to listen any longer. Mr. Miles, I cut him off, speaking calmly, I'm not being willful this time. Unexpectedly, my brief statement only made him more sarcastic. Not willful? Maya, do you even believe that yourself? Look at Nina and then look at you. You're both in your 20s. She already has her own career, and you? You're still living off the family, eating our food, drinking our water, spending money given to you by Mom, Dad, and me. Do you think someone as useless as you could survive out there without the Miles family name? I lost the patience to listen to his self-righteous accusations. I replied politely but distantly. There's no need for you to worry about that. Maya. Kyle said angrily, I'm warning you, don't be ungrateful. Mr. Miles, I addressed him again, asking sincerely, does the Miles family really still have a place for me? Kyle, who had been like a fire-breathing dragon just a second ago, fell silent instantly. I knew this question had hit home. That's enough, Mr. Miles. Ignoring his emotions, I continued. Everyone will be more at ease if I don't return. Just before Kyle could start fuming again, I quickly hung up. After buying breakfast and returning home, I checked my phone and saw several WeChat messages Kyle had sent at some point. Without even reading the content, I directly deleted the messages and blocked him. Oh, and his phone number too. Apart from various investments, I had serialized several novels on websites over the years. I had gained a modest reputation. The account I registered on Weibo as a signed author had a follower count in the 6 figures. So, even without the support of the Miles family, I could live very well. It's a pity I never understood this in my previous life. Stubbornly, even obsessively, I tried to compete with Nina, the biological daughter, for the love of the Miles family, which ultimately led to my tragic death on the streets. Now, fortunate to have a second chance, I will definitely not let myself repeat the same mistakes. Logging into my long-unused author Weibo, 8 out of 10 comments were urging me to start a new story. Author, I'm really suffering from a lack of good stories. Please start a new one. Please, please, please. My 7th granduncle's aunt's cousin's granddaughter's neighbor's colleague is a fortune teller. He said, barring any accidents, Madam Author will start a new story today. When fish cry, the sea knows. When I cry, who knows? Author, can you hear me? Without a new story to read, I'm crying really loudly. Throwing a tantrum, crawling in darkness, screaming, beating chest, can't find the author, crying, making a scene, threatening suicide, continuing to crawl in darkness. Without a new story, my life is about to wither away. No new story, no extra chapters. I get it, this is the fate of a workhorse, teary eyes. My mood, which had been overcast for nearly 2 days, was completely healed by these adorable comments. Coincidentally, my website editor had recently been asking me about starting a new story. I directly replied to one of the comments. Unbridgeable_distance, reply, then his calculations are pretty accurate. Refer him to me. As expected. This reply was soon buried under hundreds of comments. It took a week to outline the new story. Then I started stockpiling chapters. Unlike my previous sweet romance stories where families were always happy and love was always perfect. For this new serial, I decided to use the fate of my previous life as material. Let's not mention the ending for now. I wonder how many readers will accept such a depressing type of story. Just as I typed the first line in the writing software, my phone, which had been silent for nearly a week except for food delivery and courier calls, suddenly rang. Somewhat surprised, I glanced at the screen. It was the youngest son of the Miles family, the one who used to follow me around the most, always calling me sis. But later, after Nina returned home, also the one who scorned me the most. Leo. After a moment's hesitation, I still answered the call. Maya, when will you stop this? The expected angry questioning came rushing at me. Leo had always had a fiery temper, and now it was completely unrestrained. Just because Mom and Dad brought my real sister home. You're throwing a tantrum and not coming back? Have you even figured out that you're the imposter who stole the nest? Do you know that because you haven't come back this whole time? My real sister hasn't smiled even once for a whole week. I know, you just want to use this to force Mom and Dad to pay more attention to you, right? Enough is enough. You're just a bastard, did you really think you were one of us? Dare to compare yourself to my real sister? Are you even worthy? If our Miles family hadn't raised you, you'd have died who knows where long ago. Here's some friendly advice, get your ass back here right now and apologize to Mom, Dad, and my real sister. Otherwise, don't you ever think about setting foot in the Miles house again. Leo fired off like a machine gun. I simply placed the phone aside and continued typing. 10 minutes passed. Leo, who had received no response for a long time, suddenly roared. Maya. Are you even listening? I picked up the phone again to answer. I'm listening. Leo's breathing was heavy, as if he was suppressing immense anger. Good, listening is good. Listen clearly. You have 1 day to pack your things and get back here. Otherwise. No. I refused outright, speaking gently. Leo, don't worry. I won't compete with your real sister for anything, and I won't appear in front of you all again. What did you say? Leo seemed. Say that again if you have the guts. I let out a breath and repeated. I won't appear in front of you all again. I won't compete with Nina for anything. And I won't disturb your family reunion. Don't call me again, Leo. The things you're worried about won't happen. After speaking, without waiting for Leo's reaction, I cleanly hung up the phone. Fortunately, every child in the Miles family moves their household registration out once they turn 18. Otherwise, it really wouldn't be this easy to cut ties with them. Interrupted by Leo like this, I ultimately couldn't write anymore. Fortunately, the serial hadn't started yet. I simply turned off the computer and decided to go out for a walk to get some air. Although only a few hundred kilometers separate it from City B, the pace of life in City T feels very comfortable to me. It's a city that isn't particularly wealthy or fashionable. But the people living here are, for the most part, much more peaceful and friendly than those in City B. There are bustling breakfast stalls at the entrance of the residential area. As evening approaches, various snack vendors gradually appear. Less than a kilometer away, there's a small park with a quiet and serene environment. Even the temperature is much more livable than in City B. The first time I came to this city, a strong sense of fondness and belonging welled up in my heart. It was precisely because of this that I ended up buying a house here on a whim. The phone in my pocket was indeed vibrating intermittently. It was probably messages from Leo. Most likely, he wanted to pour out all the words he didn't have time to say on the phone. I slowly ate something, then went to the small park to walk off the meal for over half an hour. Returning home, I took out my phone and clicked to look. It was indeed messages from Leo, overwhelming and dense. Maya, you don't really think you can just leave and that's the end of it? Do you? What about the cost of the Miles family raising you all these years? Everything you've used growing up, food, clothing, expenses, wasn't it all the best? You really want to cut ties? Fine, then pay back the money first. I advise you to have some self-awareness. Don't push it too far. Or don't blame us for not caring about all these years of feeling. We're giving you a way out, take it quickly. Don't think that just because you usurped my real sister's identity for over 20 years, you're really one of us. Know when to stop, don't get too carried away. After reading through all his messages, every word dripping with disdain, I replied with one sentence. Don't worry, I will definitely pay back the money. Without giving him another chance to criticize me, following Kyle. Leo also joined my blacklist. The cost of the Miles family raising me over the years, apart from the clothes, shoes, jewelry, bags, and cars I left at the Miles house, amounts to about $8 million. My current savings, plus the investment profits yet to be returned, at most only total $2 million. The task is arduous and the road is long. Wealthy families are nice, but they sure spend a lot of money. Fortunately, I've never been extravagant since childhood. The amount I need to repay is still within my means. At 1 a.m., I turned on the computer again and finished the first 3 chapters of the new story in one go. Then shut down and went offline. I need to think again if there are any other ways to make money. I can't contact my previous friends. According to my memories from the previous life, after finding out I wasn't the biological daughter of the Miles family, all the friends I thought were sincere to me turned their backs overnight. If I dared to seek them out, not only would there be no new money-making opportunities, but I'd also have to endure several rounds of sarcasm. As for Zane, I shook my head, sweeping that man from my previous life, who, afraid I might harm Nina, not only publicly insulted me but also portrayed me as a gold digger who shamelessly threw herself at him, and who never appeared again until my death, completely out of my mind. Forget it, I should just sleep first. Having been awake for almost a full day and night, my brain feels like it's about to solidify. Waking up from sleep, there were over a dozen missed calls on my phone. Some from Zane, but more from the Miles couple. Looking at Dad and Mom in the missed calls, my heart clenched. I quickly exited the page, using all my strength to finally calm down. I thought that in this second life, I had long stopped caring about the hurts of the previous life. But only now do I suddenly understand. The so-called indifference was, from start to finish, just me deceiving myself. For the entire day after, I didn't have the courage to open that page again. In my previous life, I had also believed that even if they found their biological daughter, even if I had only entered the Miles family by a twist of fate. After all, we had lived together for over 20 years, and they had loved me so much. They would never stop loving me just because of blood ties. So I tested them again and again, trying to prove they were still the ones who loved me most in this world. But until I was kidnapped, and the kidnappers called the couple demanding a sky-high ransom, all the Miles family members thought it was just a new trick I had come up with. They didn't even call the police. When I was tied up, gagged, and heard Miles say with my own ears, "Kill her? Fine. It'd be best if she never appears in front of me again." And Sophia's words. Not half as sensible as Nina. Better off dead. After that phone call, I was tortured by the furious kidnappers for 3 full hours. then brutally murdered and dismembered. During those 3 hours of living hell, I begged heaven countless times, vainly hoping they would save me for the sake of our past as a family. But until that cold blade slit my throat and cut off my head, I never heard the imagined sound of police sirens. I used to wonder what they would think when they someday saw my scattered remains at the police station. But later, I felt it didn't matter anymore. Startled awake by the nightmare, I wiped the cold sweat from my forehead, gasping for air, trying to break free from the terror brought by the nightmare. The feeling of being tortured, killed, and dismembered in the dream was so real that I couldn't stop trembling even after waking up. After some time, my breathing finally gradually steadied. Glancing at my phone, it was only 5 a.m. Unfortunately, I couldn't fall back asleep. A faint white light glowed in the dark room. Staring at the blank document page, I wanted to write, but found my fingers still trembling slightly. The fear etched deep into my soul hadn't eased in the slightest, even after rebirth. Abruptly, the phone rang abruptly. I couldn't help but shudder. Turning to look, I saw Zane's name displayed on the phone screen. Why is he still calling me? According to my previous life's memories, shouldn't he be racking his brains to make Nina fall in love with him right now? The call ended automatically. I didn't answer, perhaps realizing it was indeed inappropriate to call at this hour. Zane didn't call again. However, his call did actually lessen the nightmare-induced, clinging fear quite a bit. When I looked back at the computer screen, my fingers were no longer trembling. I typed the title of the new chapter on the blank page. Giving up. The new story's performance isn't very good. It's somewhat within my expectations. After all, I was originally known for sweet stories. Suddenly changing style was bound to lose quite a few readers. Of course, the strangest thing is still Zane. Since that early morning call, he has called me every day since. The rings were sometimes long, sometimes short, but I haven't answered a single one. Immersed in conceiving and serializing the new story every day. Nearly a month has passed since leaving the Miles family. Thanks to my current free time, I can maintain a daily update rate of 2 to 3 chapters. After the initial cold period, a group of new readers who exclusively love depressing stories somehow caught wind of it and came. The clicks and comments on the new story finally aren't as pitifully few as before. The serialization has reached the mid to late stages and is about to the biggest turning point. The protagonist, after experiencing the pain of being abandoned by family and lover, finally emerges from the determined to start a new life. But just as they are about to leave, a sudden occurs. They are ruthlessly kidnapped by a group of bandits who have fled to their residence. Quite similar to my experience in the previous life. Old readers who love sweet stories passionately. Please, author. No more suffering, my heart really can't take it anymore. While new readers focused on depressing stories. More. Time passed day by day. Soon, it was the Mid-Autumn Festival, the day I died in my previous life. Driven by some psychology, I specifically got up very early this day. I also became the bank's first customer of the day. 2 million? The teller behind the counter looked at me suspiciously. Her eyes seemed to doubt if I was being scammed online. Me, the recipient, is my father. Hearing this, she seemed to relax. During the process, she didn't forget to compliment me. In all my time as a teller, this is the first time I've seen a customer transferring such a large sum to their parents. You must have a very good relationship with them. I pursed my lips into a smile but didn't respond to that. It didn't take long. The transfer completed, and I got up to leave the bank. After this transfer, my bank account has less than $3,000 left. Fortunately, the next investment profit is about to arrive. This month's manuscript fee will also be issued in a few days, otherwise things might really get tight. Just as I entered the subway station, my phone rang as expected. The caller was Sophia. After a few deep breaths, I answered the call politely. Hello. The other person seemed to hesitate for a moment but soon spoke. Yao Yao, why did you suddenly transfer 2 million to your father? Walking into the subway car, I lowered my head and went to a corner, speaking softly. The total cost of you and Mr. Miles raising me over the years comes to about 8 million. But I can't come up with that much money all at once right now. So I can only choose to pay in installments for the time being. After these words, the other end of the phone suddenly fell into silence. The subway passed another station. What do you mean, you can't come up with that much money now and can only pay in installments? The other person's tone sounded very sad, her voice trembling slightly. In my previous life, it was because I was misled by such a tone that I mistakenly believed they still loved me. That when Nina first returned home and I was hesitating whether to leave, I ultimately chose to stay with the Miles family, to fulfill my filial duties by their side. Unfortunately, I overestimated my importance in their hearts after all. Yao Yao, Sophia choked up, you won't even call us mom and dad anymore? I remained silent, not answering that question. Once, lacking self-awareness, I called them that repeatedly in Nina's presence. Only to be met with their response. We are not your parents. Don't call us that anymore from now on, it upsets Nina. The subway arrived at my station. I exited the subway amidst the bustling crowd, and continued to listen quietly as Sophia spoke. She said, Yao Yao, even though Nina is back, you are still your father's and my daughter. How could you be so heartless to just leave like this, and even return the money to us? This is no different from stabbing us in the heart with a knife. Even though I wanted to remain silent, I couldn't help but ask a question that, to them at this point, probably seemed like, then if one day, both she and I were in danger, who would you be more worried about, me or her? The other person scolded, what nonsense. Both of you are perfectly fine. How could there be any danger? See. They weren't even willing to tell a lie anymore. Standing outside the subway station, I occasionally caught glimpses of pedestrians carrying mooncakes, hurrying along. I closed my eyes for a moment. When I opened them, I said, I will repay the remaining money to you as soon as possible. In the future, let's not contact each other anymore. Since someone is destined to get hurt eventually, it's better to free myself from that quagmire from the very beginning. Yao Yao. Sophia called out urgently. It had been a really, really long time since I'd heard that term of endearment from her. I forget when it started in my previous life. But whether it was her or the other members of the Miles family, they only ever called me Maya or you. Mom. Stop talking to her. If she wants to pay back the money, let her. That money shouldn't have been spent on her in the first place. That was Leo's voice. She'll come crawling back once she realizes she can't do anything without the Miles family. That was Kyle. Besides the two of them, I faintly heard a soft voice. Mom, is that Yao Yao? Did she leave because she blames me for taking her place? It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, Yao Yao wouldn't have left. Maybe I should just go. Then Yao Yao can come back, and you can be a family again. Even though these words reached my ears muffled, I could still hear in the speaker's tone. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, Leo exploded. What do you mean you took her place? Sis, she's the outsider. The bastard who stole the nest. This is what being a family means. It's better if she doesn't come back. I feel sick just looking at her now. Sophia scolded, Leo. But that was it. There was no further reprimand. Unwilling to listen any longer to these words I had heard countless times in my previous life, I hung up the phone directly. Actually, I wasn't very close to Nina in my previous life either. Although I always saw her as a rival, trying to compete with her in everything. From beginning to end, I never truly understood this person. But judging from that sentence on the phone just now, it seems she might not be as innocent and as she appears on the surface. Forget it. It doesn't matter anymore. I walked back to the residential area. but just as I reached the entrance, I unexpectedly saw Zane's car. The rear door opened. Zane, dressed in a sharp black suit, strode towards me purposefully. As soon as he got close, he pulled me into a hug without a word. I was stunned for a moment, then belatedly realized he seemed to be trembling. Countless question marks slowly rose in my heart. What's going on? Shouldn't he be pursuing Nina right now? Why is he here? And he seems not quite right? Also, how does he know where I live? At the busy entrance of the residential area, Zane held me tightly so openly, naturally attracting many curious looks. I said, exasperated. Zane, did you investigate me? But he clearly ignored my words, burying his head in my neck as if playing dead. So I mustered all my strength and pushed him away hard. What's wrong with you? Only then did I get a clear look. Zane looked utterly haggard. His originally well-fitted clothes hung loosely on him. His chin was covered in stubble, his eyes were sunken into dark circles, and the whites of his eyes were bloodshot. I couldn't help but frown. His condition really didn't seem right. But I still had to ask the necessary questions. How did you know I was here? Zane didn't speak, just stared at me deeply without blinking, as if I would disappear the moment he did. Just as I was about to ask again, a bolt suddenly popped into my head. Could it be? Did he also rebirth? After another long silence, Zane finally spoke. Yow, that address again, feeling like a lifetime ago. His voice was hoarse, like sandpaper. I had a dream. Oh, so it wasn't rebirth, just a dream. He seemed trapped in some scenario, speaking. I dreamed you were kidnapped, killed by those beasts, and even your body was. He let out a huge sob, looking utterly agonized, yet my heart remained unmoved. He gazed at me. I said flatly, Zane, it was just a dream. I thought it was just a dream at first too. He suddenly yelled, drawing the attention of passers-by around us again. Zane seemed oblivious, muttering. But for a full 2 weeks, I've had the same dream every night. Yow, it wasn't a dream, was it? It really happened, didn't it? He staggered towards me, as if wanting to pull me into his arms again. Even after waking up, I can still feel the despair and pain from the dream. I know it must have really happened. Yow, tears streamed down his face as he told me, looking so wretched, I missed you so much. I can't lose you. If only Zane had said these words in my previous life, how good that would have been. Brushing away the ache in my heart, I took a few steps back, avoiding his outstretched hand. I said without any fluctuation in my tone. That was just a dream. Otherwise, I should be dead by now, not just dead, but dismembered. Zane, get a grip. I'm alive and well. But Zane simply couldn't hear my words. It was like he was talking to me, yet also talking to himself. 2 weeks. A full 2 weeks, I tried countless times to save you. But no matter how hard I tried, I could only face the fact of your murder in the end. Only watch that body even the police couldn't find all of. But yow, don't worry, I found those kidnappers later. I killed them myself. One by one, made sure they all died horribly. Yow, I avenged you. Please forgive me. Forgive me, give me another chance, please? His voice grew louder and louder, until it was practically hysterical by the end. Unwilling to deal with him any further, I called over his driver and assistant, wanting them to take him away. But he seemed to have gone mad. Yelling and screaming, flailing his arms. Even though his driver was a burly man, he couldn't get close. At this moment, he truly seemed insane. Zane, if you keep causing a scene, I'm calling the police. For someone of his status, if it actually came to the police getting involved, it could probably affect his company's stock. In the end, I did call the police. Zane had almost lost all reason, just repeatedly begging for my forgiveness, begging me to return to him. By the time the police arrived, his assistant and driver, who had been trying to restrain him to prevent any trouble, were nearly exhausted. Faced with this chaotic scene, the police were also at a loss for words. After cooperating with giving my statement, while Zane was still being questioned, I left the police station first. Now I finally understood what that 5 a.m. phone call 2 weeks ago was about. But returning home, I fell into thought. Why did Zane dream about what happened to me in my previous life? I thought and thought but still couldn't figure it out. So I simply put the matter aside, cleared my mind, and went back to writing. The new story was nearing its end. In the novel, all those who had wronged and hurt the female lead were also about to face their punishment. The comments also offered various suggestions. Of course, they should lose everything. No need for much, just let them experience all the pain the female lead suffered firsthand. Either lose their money or their lives. Author, choose one. Children choose, adults, of course, want both. If I were the female lead, I'd definitely give those two idiot brothers a good beating myself. However, when it came down to it, I actually have writer's block. Another early morning. I was awakened by the sudden ringing of my phone. Grabbing the phone, I didn't even bother to look at the caller ID. Half asleep, I inadvertently answered the call. Yow yow. It was Sophia. She sounded so terrified that her voice had become shrill and almost piercing. I instantly woke up. Then, I heard Sophia's almost incoherent words. Yow yow, where are you now? Mom is coming to find you. Yow yow, don't be afraid. Mom is coming right away. Mom is coming to save you now. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. She repeated the last 3 words over and over, until my nose uncontrollably turned sour, and my eyes began to burn. Yow yow, Mom won't let anyone hurt you, Mom's yow yow, yow yow, don't leave Mom, don't leave me alone. The background noise on the other end also became chaotic. The butler, the servants, and the 3 Miles siblings. Some were persuade, some were block. Leo's voice was the loudest. Mom. It's the middle of the night. Why are you looking for Maya all of a sudden? If you ask me, she wasn't part of our family anyway. Isn't it better that she's gone? Why look for her? She's just a bastard who stole my sister's identity and good life. She doesn't deserve to stay in our family. It's all her fault. We were finally reunited as a family, and she had to go and transfer money on a holiday. She's clearly doing it on purpose to disrupt our peace. An ungrateful wretch like her. I say she deserves to die out the *smack*. A loud slap interrupted Leo's vicious curse. Thud. Sophia's phone seemed to have fallen to the ground. Subsequently, her hysterical screams also became less piercing than before. Say one more word against my yow yow and see what happens. Mom? You hit me for that bastard? Smack. As soon as Leo finished questioning, another slap followed. Yow yow is my daughter. Your sister. How could I have given birth to such an ungrateful wretch? Have you forgotten how good Yow Yow was to you before? Mom. Kyle also joined the mediation. Don't be upset, don't resort to violence. Leo is just worried about you going out so late. It's dangerous. Even Nina stopped pretending to be weak. She just urgently. Mom, don't be anxious. Didn't you just talk to Yow Yow today? She's fine. Nothing will happen. But strangely, Miles didn't make a sound from beginning to end. Until several more minutes passed. I faintly heard him say. Lao Yang, call the driver. Book the earliest flight to City T for me and my wife. Later, probably in the chaos, someone hung up the phone. The noises from the other end instantly disappeared. The room fell quiet again. But my fingers kept tightening. Why, after Zane, did Sophia also dream about my previous life's events? I drifted in and out of sleep all night. It wasn't until 9 a.m. that I finally got out of bed, my head a tangled mess. Just after finishing my morning routine, my phone rang again. Honestly, I've received more calls in the last month than in the past 20+ years combined. Glancing at the caller ID, I answered the call. Hello, Mr. Miles. Yow yow. But the speaker wasn't Miles, it was still Sophia, maintaining last night's state. Yow yow, Mom is coming right away. Wait a little longer, wait for Mom, good yow yow, don't be afraid. Mom is coming to protect you. No one can hurt you, no one can. She spoke intermittently, never managing a complete sentence. It seemed the content of her dream was much more intense than Zane's. After all, Zane held out for half a month before coming. She probably only had the dream last night. It couldn't be because she actually still loved me deep down, could it? The thought itself seemed impossible. During this time, until the Miles family arrived at my residential area, Sophia's call never disconnected. She kept murmuring to me, even recounting, without missing a beat, various funny stories from my childhood. Then she apologized to me. I'm sorry, yow yow. Mom shouldn't have abandoned you because we had another child. I'm sorry. You are also the child Mom raised with my own hands. How could I be so confused? How could I think you shouldn't stay at home anymore? How could I start favoring another child? Yow yow, Mom was really wrong. Can you give Mom another chance? Mom promises to love you well, protect you, and let you be safe and happy for the rest of your life. Yow yow, I'm sorry. Please don't leave Mom. Come home with me, please. She cried so sadly. Even without seeing her, I could imagine her tear-streaked face. Did this mean that after my death in the previous life, they had also been this heartbroken, regretful, and pained? City T is really small. Even though my residential area is quite far from the airport. The drive only takes about an hour. Seeing the Miles family again felt like a lifetime ago. No, it really was a lifetime ago. This was the first time I'd seen the Miles family since my rebirth. And they were all here, not a single one missing. This apartment is really quite small. After the entire Miles family came in, it even felt a bit crowded. Yow yow. Sophia rushed to me first. Realizing she also wanted to hug me, I instinctively took a few steps back. The former froze awkwardly in place. Are you crazy? What's the big deal? Leo couldn't help but speak up. But Sophia shot him a fierce glare. He seemed unconvinced and wanted to say more, but Kyle beside him stopped him. Yow yow. Sophia looked at me with tearful eyes, filled with pain. Miles also stepped forward. He stood beside Sophia, looking at me with a hesitant expression, his eyes terrifyingly red. Yow yow, I'm sorry, Sophia was almost sobbing uncontrollably. Mom begs you, come home with Mom. Otherwise, those people will hurt you again. Yow yow. I took a deep breath, forcing the tears back into my heart. I slowly shook my head and said solemnly, they won't. Sophia and Miles were completely stunned. It was the first time I'd seen them like this. I've left City B. I won't encounter those people again. Sophia and Miles both looked as if they'd been struck by lightning. My words undoubtedly indicated that I had indeed experienced the events in their dreams. The next second, Miles, who had been holding back his emotions, also shed tears, choking out his first words of the day. Yow yow, Dad is sorry to you. After a moment of contemplation, I ultimately couldn't help but nod. Yes, you are sorry to me. I was kidnapped for nearly 24 hours, tortured beyond recognition for a full 3 hours. But until the moment I died in that dark, damp basement, I was still vainly hoping you would come save me. But you wouldn't come. I first looked at Miles. You said, kill her? Fine. It'd be best if she never appears in front of me again. Then I looked at Sophia. You said, not half as sensible as Nina. Better off dead. Then I gave a faint smile and said, so those kidnappers did as you wished. They killed me, ensuring I would never appear before you again, never your family reunion. After these words fell, the living room sank into a long dead silence. As if thinking of something, Leo, who originally had an angry expression, now looked. And Kyle, who usually kept his emotions well hidden, also began to show cracks in his composure. Under their shocked gazes, I continued. You say you were wrong, you want me to forgive you, you want me to come home with you. But right now, I just want to be as far away from you as possible. I just want to live. Yow yow. Sophia took another step forward. I retreated accordingly. Her face was deathly pale without a trace of color, her gaze towards me filled with pain. Does it hurt? I said without emotion. The pain I felt then was 10,000 times worse than what you're feeling now. I'm sorry, yow yow, I. Sophia could no longer form a complete sentence, but her tears kept flowing uncontrollably. At this moment, Nina once again became the outsider. She looked at her family in confusion, not understanding why her biological parents and brothers had become like this. I didn't pay attention to her, only addressing the other members of the Miles family. So, please don't come looking for me anymore in the future. I really don't want to go back to that place anymore. Okay. Sophia finally managed to respond, her voice choked with tears. Miles could only nod, his face full of complex emotions I couldn't decipher. The atmosphere in the small apartment was heavy and suffocating. Without another word, I turned and walked towards the door, holding it open in a clear gesture of dismissal. One by one, they filed out silently, their earlier urgency and desperation replaced by a stunned, hollow silence. Leo, for once, had nothing sharp to say. Kyle's usual composure was shattered, his face ashen. Nina looked lost, clinging to her mother's arm. As the door closed behind them, I leaned against it, finally allowing the tears I'd been holding back to fall. They weren't tears of sadness for their pain, but tears of release. For the first time since my rebirth, I had truly spoken my piece. I had laid bare the wounds they had inflicted and refused their belated, dream-induced remorse. The phone on the table buzzed again. I didn't need to look to know it was probably Sophia or Miles. Or maybe even Zane again. I ignored it. The silence in the apartment was now my own, and I welcomed it. It was the silence of survival, of a future I would build for myself, far away from the ghosts of my past. The writing on my screen waited, the story of a woman who walked away and learned to live for herself. It was a story I was finally ready to finish. Sophia quickly agreed, but then added a stipulation. Then, promise you won't keep repaying the money, okay? You're our daughter, that money. No. I cut her off. I am not your daughter anymore. What I want is a complete and total severance of ties with you, with no remaining connections whatsoever. Sophia covered her mouth, sobbing, her tears soaking her hands. I let out a breath and issued my dismissal. Now, please leave my home. I don't want to see any of you anymore. After a few more minutes of persistent but futile arguing, the Miles family finally left, albeit reluctantly. Just before leaving, Leo turned to me and asked, "What did Mom and Dad mean by all that? What's really going on?" I didn't answer him. I simply closed the door. I stood quietly for a long time, listening until the sound of their footsteps had completely faded away down the hall. Only then did I finally relax, letting myself fall back onto the bed. One major source of trouble was finally handled. I could only hope Zane would take the hint as the Miles family eventually had. I really didn't want to have to move again. Whether the Miles family had warned him off or his trip to the police station had shocked him back to his senses, I didn't know. But after that, Zane, as I had desperately hoped, did not come looking for me again. However, during this period, the narrative around my car accident online completely flipped. Someone, I never found out who, released the full, unedited video, proving conclusively that I had swerved and hit the bus solely to avoid a pedestrian. Consequently, the online mob turned their outrage. They began viciously attacking the original media account that had posted the misleading, clipped video and stirred up the hate campaign. And they also turned on the jaywalking pedestrian whose actions had caused the accident. In my previous life, this vindication might have thrilled me. But living through it again, the whole affair had long since lost any significance to me. Even without this particular incident, those internet users perpetually searching for someone to vilify would simply have found another target. A few months later, my novel serialization reached its conclusion. It was a relatively satisfying conclusion, though it left a portion of readers who craved dark, tragic stories somewhat disappointed. Ultimately, however, it managed to satisfy the expectations of the majority of my readers. Later, I read online that due to severe mental health issues, Zane had been committed to a psychiatric institution by his family just a few months after returning from City T. With Zane no longer able to lead, his family's company swiftly spiraled toward bankruptcy. As for the Miles family, there wasn't much news online. I only knew that Sophia, who had seemed relatively composed in front of me, fell seriously ill not long after returning to City B. Unlike Zane's purely psychological struggles, her physical health deteriorated catastrophically almost overnight. Miles set aside all his business affairs, taking Sophia everywhere seeking medical treatment. But before long, he too was diagnosed with a serious illness. Kyle and Leo sought me out more than once. They set aside their pride and dignity, begging me to return and visit their ailing parents. They told me that after returning from City T, Sophia and Miles would often mistake Nina for me. They would frequently break down into apologies and tears without warning. I, of course, refused. I repeatedly blocked their new phone numbers, one after another, until their attempts to harass me finally ceased. Later still, I saw news that the Miles family, once the wealthiest in City B, became embroiled in a scandalous feud between the brothers. Miles Corporation's stock plummeted, even though it eventually stabilized somewhat. It was a shadow of its former self, unable to be compared to its past glory. Just as the company showed slight signs of recovery, news arrived that Miles and Sophia had been killed in a car accident while traveling for medical treatment, dealing another devastating blow to the corporation. The next time my phone rang in the middle of the night, waking me, I didn't answer. I chose to power it off completely and went back to sleep. Eventually, I came across photos online of Kyle and Leo, both brothers now with shock white hair. So, it was their turn now. The Miles empire, that colossal entity, finally crumbled completely. No tabloid paparazzi bothered to follow the brothers anymore. And I ceased to see or hear any further news about them. But all of that had nothing to do with me anymore. Just as they all ultimately faced their reckoning, I found my own path to a fulfilling future.